Hello, everybody. Welcome to Yes Have Some Podcast, episode 99. My name is Craig Goldberg. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, I am here with my wonderful co-hosts, Abigail Gardner.
What's up, guys?
Jacob Walsh.
Hello.
And a special guest this week, all the way from the Hollywood Hills of Hollywood,
Wow.
California. Friend of the podcast, joining us for our Deadpool roundtable tonight, John Yerkeba.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Welcome,
Hello.
John.
Hey, John.
John.
Hello, John.
Hello, John.
Hello, John.
John.
Hello, John.
Hello, John.
What movie? Jaws 2 Cruise Control. So, John, we brought him on. He loves his comic books, and we figured we're going to talk about Deadpool. We might as well get somebody who's in on the long term. Although, Jake, I gotta say, man,
Yeah.
you've been dropping some knowledge on me this week as well about Deadpool. I always forget Jacob Walsh is an X-Men fiend.
Yeah.
It's X-Men, yeah.
That he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
The animated series is something that I completely missed out on as a child. I wanted no part of it. I was into another movie more.
You like a different movie.
So we thought it would be fun to have John join us this week.
We got Jake. We got Jake.
We-
We got Jake by Johnson. Okay.
Abby's quoting
Gummo?
Abby's quoting Gummo now.
Just doing my own thing.
Wow.
So
Wow.
we've
It's gonna
derailed.
be a fun episode, guys.
It's gonna be fun. But before we get that, John, there was that news this week that they're gonna do this new animated version of Thundercats. People don't like the animation style, so John took it upon himself to draw his own version of
Recreate,
that
yeah.
for Ghostbusters, and we posted it up today. And John, what was it's a really great piece of art you did. What was your?
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're
Dude, I
welcome.
love the Janine, like, first of all.
Janine.
It's
What
amazing.
what was your feedback today?
It was it was a little bit of everything. I got a lot of people who were like, "Oh, I'd watch that. That's really cool. You should make some prints." And I definitely got a lot of people who were just like wanted nothing to do with it. Thought that I should flog myself for having created it and
Are
supporting.
you telling me that the Ghostbusters community wasn't just like 100% positive?
You're saying
about
that they
something?
weren't
you
receptive.
wouldn't think, right? But they're in
Totally.
there.
Oh
They're in
my
there.
god.
Super open-minded people.
We're a week from Ghostbusters
It took
Day.
me by surprise.
So we're a week from Ghostbusters Day, and my favorite thing today was Ghostbusters.com is now going to be relaunching on Ghostbusters Day next week. And all it is it's just the firehouse, and it's got the Ghostbusters logo. It says under construction, and we posted about it on Yes Have Some today. Eric from Ghost Corps actually emailed me to give me the heads up about it, and then some guy took it upon himself to start bashing Leslie Jones.
Oh my
That happened,
god.
That
It
happened.
was so random.
It was very random.
I completely missed that.
He was like, if anybody from the Ghostbusters subreddit here is here, just to let you know, I'm not a racist. These are my opinions about Leslie. It's like the guy blacked out in August of 2016 and just
Yeah.
woke
Just
up
came to
today.
his- Still doing it?
He just
He
woke.
had a-
He just woke up at his computer and he was just like
He had a Robin Williams
Typing.
Jumanji
furiously
moment. He's like,
typing.
what year is it?
Yeah. And then I commented,
It's like cable.
and he goes, "Nobody's talking to you, Craig." And I'm like, "This is literally our every
Yes,
comment
awesome.
on this thread is directly coming to me." So
you are talking to me right now.
you are.
Yeah.
And then when I called him out on it, he goes, "Oh, cool, nice page you have here." So,
Dude, that's great. I love it.
And then
Like
he
when
said,
you
like, this guy
confront
gets
it.
me. I was like, I don't even know who he's talking to anymore.
yeah. It was fun. So that's just
That's just some of the fun.
That's just some of the fun. That's just a little taste of what is to come.
It's a taste of Ghostbusters
Yeah,
Day.
it's
Yeah.
a taste of Ghostbusters
I can't
Day.
wait.
The day that keeps on giving. Ghostbusters Day is like Krampus or something.
Yeah, it's the Festivus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that'll be for next week. We got a lot coming up. We got MegaCon. YHS is going to be down in Orlando this weekend, hanging out at MegaCon. There's a tropical depression forming, hitting Florida this weekend. So bring your raincoats. It's going to be wet. Jake looks concerned.
I just really wanted to get into the pool.
Yeah.
Me too.
Oh, whoa.
Wasn't there
come
like a
to you.
huge storm that hit during the filming of Jurassic Park? So I don't know. Maybe
That's
we
what
could
I
just...
thought of when he said that. When he
Yeah.
said tropical depression, I immediately thought of Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll get stuck like in an elevator with Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
For like
That could happen.
an hour.
That could
I would
happen.
be.
Yeah.
I would not handle that well.
Let's hope for the best. I know you wouldn't handle the elevator well, but at least you know.
We'll know it's a good weekend if
Do an
we're in an
interview.
elevator with Jeff Goldblum cradling me, calming me down from the panic attack I'm having. We almost got locked in a staircase the last time we were in Orlando, so I guess an elevator is next in line. But we could ramble on all day about that. We've got Han Solo coming out. We've got a lot going on. But right now, we're going to be talking about Deadpool. That's right, Deadpool 2
Oh, yeah.
in theaters.
Yeah.
It's making mega bucks. It's making fuck bucks. I don't know, 130, 140 million domestic. We've all seen it. We've all taken it in. We've all had a couple days to digest it. Abby?
Some of us have seen it twice as
Abby
well. I was
saw it
going to say,
again
yeah,
this
I saw
morning.
it the second time today.
So before we start, we're going to make this a traditional roundtable. We're all going to be expressing our thoughts, feelings, and opinions. 2 questions. I always ask this. A, what'd you think? Thumbs up or thumbs down? And B, was it better than Ghostbusters? Answer the call. Abigail?
Yeah, no duh. Like, both thumbs way up. One of which, by the way, if you see these huge bandages, I had a cat bite, and I had to go to the hospital yesterday, and I feel like I should share this, and I had to get a tetanus shot, and I'm very proud of it. But I'm fine. Everything's fine.
Everything's fine.
But yeah, no, I give
Until the full moon shows up.
Dude, until this becomes like a cat arm. Also, I feel like Cable because my right arm where I got this shot is like extremely heavy from like the tetanus pain. Like, I don't know if you've ever had one of those shots, but it hurts a lot. But I'm powering through and I'm here, and I loved Deadpool 2. I may have liked it more than the first. I don't know. I have to think a little bit more. But yeah, I saw it twice, and the second viewing like solidified it for me. It's extremely good and extremely touching and emotional, and like just it felt like it was tailored to me and my likes and needs. So I really liked it.
Yeah. That's great, but the question is, was it better than Ghostbusters Answer the Call?
Oh, that was the no duh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was yes.
Oh,
obviously.
so we're in no duh territory.
Definitely. It's
Cool.
1999.
There you
Or it's
go.
episode 99.
There you go. Jacob Walsh, thumbs up,
Yeah.
thumbs down, and did you think it was better than... Also, I love that we refer to it as Ghostbusters Answer the Call. You remember for 6 months we just called it Ghostbusters 2016? Because that's like a new...
Well, because that's what it was until, like, I don't know, the week before it came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like... Oh, remember, everybody's like, it's just a
by the way,
tagline.
here's a subtitle.
It's just a tagline.
I remember saying that once, like either on the show or to someone. I'm like, no, it's just Ghostbusters. Like it's just going to be called Ghostbusters. And I remember using hashtag Ghostbusters 2016 and being like, I think this is what we call it.
Yeah. There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
I just sounded like Paul Feig when I said that. I was watching some of Ghost Heads the other day. And
You were watching Ghost Heads?
Yeah.
Why not?
Something-
do
I've
that?
heard of that movie.
Talk about it.
sometimes you just want to dip back in and like just see what's going on. Check in with everybody.
Check in with...
See if it's still the same.
Okay.
Yeah, no, but yes, this movie, Deadpool 2, is way better than Answer the Call.
All right. Jacob Walsh, thumbs up?
She just answered my question.
She just answered
Yeah,
the call.
thumbs up. I like Deadpool 2. I liked it. I did like it better than the first one, and it is better than Answer the Call.
There you go.
Yeah.
John Yerkeba. Same question.
I mean, I can't say anything different. I gave it 2 thumbs way up, and yeah, I think it picked up the phone a lot faster than they did in Answer the Call. It answered the call faster.
It did.
Mm-hmm. Did they ever actually answer the call in Ghostbusters?
Kevin tried to.
True.
Was thwarted.
They should have called that movie Ghostbusters. Chris Hemsworth attempts to answer a call.
Over and over again.
All right, real quick, we need to move on to our Deadpool review, but we have mental issues. We are
Yeah.
obviously not okay.
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah,
Feig.
we just yes. Somehow we have to
Thanks,
tie it
Paul
back
Feig.
to like our mutual hate. Yes.
It's fine.
It's not.
fine.
We all went through it together, so it is a common like
Cool.
trauma.
I think wherever 2 or more are gathered, it just kind of comes out.
It's like looking at family photos and remembering the bad times only. Jacob Walsh.
Yeah.
What was
there
your?
were good times too.
We had good times. What was your anticipation level for Deadpool going into it?
I mean, I liked the first Deadpool. I thought it was really funny. I wasn't a big like, though I am a little more versed in the X-Men. Deadpool was never something that I was like big into, and I think also like the culture of Deadpool that happens at like Dragon Con also kind of
It's very cultured.
Turns a lot of people away. I think it turned all of us away. We were like, oh, cool, Deadpool. There's going to be more of those around.
Yeah.
But the first Deadpool was great, and obviously, like the first Deadpool had a good bit of comic book stuff and some X-Men stuff. But as far as the second one, I was just like, all right, cool. There's going to be another Deadpool movie. Like I wasn't like through the roof about it, but I wasn't. I was excited as like this is going to be a fun movie to watch. Right. That's where I was at. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to kind of tag along, if you don't know, the culture of Deadpool fandom is basically the most annoying people tend to dress up like Deadpool at conventions, and then they go around doing annoying things like conga lines and jumping around and getting in your face and
bombing.
A lot of mashups happening.
All of the annoying stuff that they would normally do in person and people would shun them, they put on a Deadpool costume and then think it's okay because that's how
it's magnified. Yeah.
Exactly. So I get that. John, what was your anticipation level?
I was excited. I went and saw the last one when it came out. I enjoyed it a lot. So I was generally excited for it. I enjoy Deadpool. I'm not well versed in his comics or anything. I have like a passing knowledge, but I've never been like a hardcore Deadpool collector or anything. I've seen some of his appearances and some of the animated stuff that he's been in, but other than that, it's just I just came into it hoping that it was as good as the first one at least.
Yeah, Abigail.
Actually, I'm pretty close there with you, John. I've not read a single issue of Deadpool, and but I did. And I also
what kind of a podcast is this?
What are you guys? You don't read the book? Yeah, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we just go see the movie, and sometimes that's okay. But yeah, I didn't. When I saw the first Deadpool, I felt a lot like you, Jake, with like kind of that like eye roll. Like I'm not sure I'm gonna like this. Like I remember I didn't watch it in the theater for the first time. Like when I watched it, I watched it like the other way that you can watch it.
Right.
And I was like, wait a minute, this is surprisingly good. And then I went and bought a ticket for it, and I was like, oh, this is really up there. Especially for a comic book movie. It's got like a huge heart and an amazing soundtrack. So because of that, I was anticipating this movie. But I hadn't really thought about it. It was on the back burner. But when Craig texted Jake, you and I, the Celine Dion like video or like mentioned it, I was like, oh, I really like this, and that got me super pumped for it. And yeah, I went and saw this movie not on opening night, which really bummed me out. Like, first of all, I want to say I'm never doing that again. Like, just moving forward, I have my ticket for Han Solo tomorrow night, so we're not, that's not gonna happen again. But yeah,
God, tomorrow,
dude, I can't believe that. I'm already stressed about it. But yeah, this movie was something that I was anticipating, but it also kind of crept up on me as I was watching it. I was like, oh, I forgot how much I love this, and this is why I love it.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with you guys. When the first one came out, like, I've been having this thing, like, when did Ryan Reynolds become, like, this funny, likable, charming guy? Because, like, my opinion of Ryan Reynolds was always, like, oh, this fucking guy from, I don't know. Like, I was reading his Wikipedia the other day. I completely forgot he was in Two Girls, a Pizza Place, and a fucking Deadpool.
He was one of the two guys.
Whatever that movie's called, whatever that show's called. But, yeah, so, like, my anticipation for the first one was almost like, okay, they're making this R-rated movie. It's kind of a passion project. It's probably going to be not my cup of tea. And then I saw it, was pleasantly surprised, and I was worried about the second one because remember Tim Miller, the director of the first one, dropped out. He had creative differences with Ryan Reynolds. And I don't know. It's amazing, though. I absolutely loved it. I laughed my ass off. It's got a lot of heart. Did shed a couple tears. I cried. Jake, did you cry?
No.
You didn't cry?
Yeah,
no
maybe.
Tears.
Don't judge me.
Jake made me cry. So, I mean, let's just give our general thoughts here. Jake, you came out of the movie. You texted us. You're like, I don't want to say much, but you said something. I don't want to steal your thunder. What was your initial reaction?
My initial reaction was that Deadpool 2 is a better X-Men movie than any X-Men movie we've had so far, which is fucking mind-blowing because we've had I don't know, 7 X-Men. I don't know if you count the fucking Wolverine movies, which maybe you shouldn't because those aren't really X-Men movies.
Except for Logan.
Yeah, I mean, Logan's great, yeah, but I mean, this movie, first of all, when the first Deadpool came out, even though there's such a small amount of X-Men stuff, it was all treated so well, and even, just the costumes are just oh, hey, how come this movie can get the costumes right, but 6 X-Men movies before this are fucking weird.
Yeah, Colossus looks fucking awesome.
Yeah.
This is exactly what Colossus looks like, and I'm this is what Colossus. How come we've never gotten this before? So it's cool to see that stuff, and then on top of that, this movie has lots of X-Men shit happening. And X-Force, has always been an offshoot of the X-Men. All of those weird characters that get killed off pretty quickly are all characters that I've read about in the comics and collected cards for, characters that have always been in the show, and just to see all of that and then have the Juggernaut show up and just I'm this is a fucking X-Men movie. This is an X-Men movie. Cable is in it. Cable has always been a major member of the X-Men, and that to me was the best part. Not just, the comedy or how silly it is. It's just the fact that I'm this is a fucking good, fun X-Men movie. That was my favorite part about it.
My gut reaction walking out, I never collected the Fleer Marvel cards growing up, but my gut reaction was I need to buy a box of Fleer Marvel cards. I need to get some foil cards. I want some Wolverines.
Yeah.
God, let's do it.
Yeah, I've got that itch. I want to go back and read some issues, honestly, because I like the premise of everything, and I think I'd like to dive in deeper.
You want to dive in? Take a deep dive?
Yeah.
John, what was your gut reaction coming out of the movie?
My gut reaction was honestly exactly like Jake's. It was this feeling by the end of it, you walk out, and it's a Deadpool movie because Deadpool's the main character, but yeah, it had so much. I think. Oh man, I wrote notes earlier because I was really excited about
nerd.
This. I'm such a nerd. But yeah, it felt I don't know. It felt like the first Deadpool movie was almost this fun kind of spoof that secretly took place in the X-Men universe when nobody was looking, and that he was just Deadpool was Goldilocks and just sneaking in and playing with all the X-Men stuff and all that kind of thing. And then in the second one, it was just they fully embraced everything about the world of X-Men. And it was just no, Deadpool's a part of that. He's going to team up with a few X-Men characters. We're going to do X-Force. We're going to have all these references to Mr. Sinister and the Juggernaut's going to show up. And we're Cable's going to come in and he's going to
fucking Mojo
Summers and Madeline Pryor and Shatterstar. And you're just this is embracing more of the X-Men mythology than any of the other films have. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah,
it's weird too because a lot of those characters are kind of even within the X-Men world, a lot of those characters are kind of obscure.
Yeah,
Shatterstar. Whenever they meet Shatterstar and he's "Oh, my name's Shatterstar. I'm an alien from Mojo World." I was like, "Oh my god, Mojo!" They fucking talk. They just talk Mojo's this big weird villain in the X-Men universe, and there's a lot of storylines that heavily revolve around him, and I was just yeah, I was holy shit, he is from Mojo World.
Yeah.
And
that's very
it's just
cool.
Weird to see all that shit. Yeah, even Black Tom Cassidy, he's a joke in this movie, but that guy's an X-Men villain,
Really?
Yeah, he's the cousin of Banshee, who was in X-Men First Class.
Exactly, and he also in the comics for a long time is really good friends with Juggernaut. Mm-hmm. So I was whenever they kept being "Oh, monster," the big guy, I was surely this is not the Juggernaut. Surely the Juggernaut is not going to be in this movie. And not only is the Juggernaut in this movie, but they completely, fix him from X-Men 3. They get rid of the stupid, powers he had in that movie. They even acknowledge that he's related to Charles Xavier, which they completely take out of X-Men 3. just like, what the fuck is happening? How is this movie perfect?
Doing justice to all those characters. This is Jake and John. I just kind of want y'all to talk for the rest of this episode because you informed me on so many things. Because I remember the second time watching this, I was like Mojo World or whatever they said. I was like, oh, that just sounds like a throwaway, like because that character in the movie is like supposed to be dislikable and kind of like irritating. So I was like, oh, that's probably just like whatever. But that's really interesting to know. So,
yeah, there you go. But Abby, before I get your gut reaction, I do want to say I think part of this is something that we're really starting to see. Look at Guardians of the Galaxy, look at Thor Ragnarok, look at Logan, look at the first Deadpool. Comic book movies, for the first time, are not afraid of who they are. There's no more, oh, here comes
embracing
a pun.
All the weird
There's no more identity crisis. Comics.
Like that.
Comics.
We know who we are.
Hashtag comics. No. But they're not afraid of owning up to who they are. And like, remember that joke in the first X-Men movie where they're in the plane or whatever and they're going to the Statue of Liberty, which also is the second best movie with the Statue of Liberty. You guys know what I mean.
We know.
And then they make that joke like Wolverine's like, they're talking about their black suits. He's like, what are we supposed to be wearing? Like yellow spandex?
Yeah.
And it's like, ha ha ha, this isn't a real movie. These are superheroes.
Yeah.
I imagine that the Wolverine that we would see in this Deadpool universe would be wearing the Wolverine costume.
He would look like, exactly. He would look like Wolverine is supposed to look.
And what's crazy is like if the whole Fox Disney deal goes through and they eventually bring X-Men into that world, they're probably going to be in like yellow and black spandex or whatever suits they're supposed to be wearing.
They will be,
and by the way, just real quick, the Disney Fox deal has not gone through yet. Comcast is trying to interfere and undercut Disney. If I need one more reason to hate Comcast, it's bad enough that these fucking people cost me $200 a month because I can't let go of cable because I'm an old man. And the internet and all this shit, I'm already mad at Comcast all the time. And if they prevent the Fantastic Four and the X-Men from joining the MCU, I might consider cutting the cord.
Yeah.
That's my threat. I might. Abigail.
Maybe.
Craig.
Yo.
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask Abby.
What were you going to ask?
I was just going to ask you like how you're doing.
I'm ready to get rid of Comcast.
You saw Deadpool twice.
Yes.
Deadpool 2 twice. You actually had a very strong reaction to it. What are your thoughts?
I thought it almost had more heart than the first one, which was surprising because that first one was extremely like emotional and romantic and sweet and beautiful. But the message in this movie was not unlike Guardians of the Galaxy, the first volume for me, like the find your that family is not an F word and like find your F word, like that whole like putting together your family and like there's people out there in this world that are pieces of shit, but you can find the good ones and you can like connect with them and what the kids in the institute and all that kind of stuff, like growing up in a super religious home, like just being able to see that kind of stuff, to see the going back and the retribution, and like to see Domino going back and like kicking ass and taking names and decapitating people and the kids cheering, like that is all like right up my alley, and I absolutely loved it. I'm a huge Dream Warriors fan, obviously. I just like fucking like institutes and kids being able to go back and like fuck it up. Like I loved it. I loved this movie. I cried harder the second time, and also the opening of this movie took me back because I didn't anticipate what's her name, Vanessa, like her character passing away that quickly, and then the credits with the Celine Dion song, and also like the way the credits played out was like it was funny. Like to be laughing, crying, going back and forth between laughing and crying is something I very much enjoy doing in a movie theater, and that reminds me of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. So this movie, I think I like Deadpool 2 more than the first Deadpool, and I might go see it again because I really, really liked it.
Yeah, it was kind of insane though. Like you're totally right where Vanessa dies and then it goes into the credits and like the song is it's just like milking your emotions and making you want to like cry and be sad, but then you're watching this like trippy James Bond opening credits spoof with like Deadpool like
bending
bullets
over
everywhere.
Yes, it's silly.
Yeah, it felt really it's a weird feeling, but it felt good to be like sobbing but also laughing and not knowing what to do with your face the whole time.
Yes, that makes me feel really, I like that.
My face was eating popcorn. So So, as far as the storyline of this movie, so it picks up pretty quickly after. Here comes the Twizzlers.
Yeah, I have like a economy-sized bag of Twizzlers, which you bought for me, Craig.
So, anybody listening to this in the
if you
in
want
the car
one.
is getting a little ASMR right now. Do you want to do a little?
I know you've had a hard day. Do you guys know what ASMR?
All right. Well, pass me a Twizzler if you're gonna keep going.
You could take it.
Cool. I'm gonna actually keep it away
You know
from
what?
my
Who's
earbud.
gonna pass?
I'm passing on the Twizzler. So this movie takes place, I don't know, pretty quickly after the first one. It kind of catches you up. You've got Deadpool all around the world just fighting crime. He must kill 100 people in the first 3 minutes of this movie. It is like
9 to 5. First of all, it was an amazing song, and it's a great movie, and I was really glad that played Dolly Parton while all that shit happened.
It's very good. I mean, that's like the new that you're gonna get that in every comic book movie now. Just the combination of like music that does not necessarily match the tone of what you're watching. Thanks, James Gunn, for that. I like it. But Jake, this is like Tarantino level violence that we're seeing.
It is. Yeah, it's great. It's different. You know, it's like finally we have been shown that like we can have fun in a superhero movie, like watching violence. You know what I mean? Like they've always been so PG-13, and even like in the X-Men movies when you have a character like Wolverine and you got to keep it PG. I'm like, you know what? His power is that he has claws that he stabs people with. And for like 6 movies, he doesn't stab anybody. You know what I mean?
Damn it, that's frustrating.
It's crazy because I think in X-Men 2, when the secret agent dudes are like invading the house and kidnapping all the kids, he goes on like a berserk rage. He just like loses it. But all of the stab shots are off screen or so quick that it's like
it's all cut
don't
out.
see
Yeah,
anything.
basically.
It's just like he rams the dude with his claws against the wall, and it's face-to-face close-up. And
right, but it's cool. It's cool that like so. I mean, first of all, it's cool that we got a rated R Logan, so you know they could show us like the depressing, serious side of that. But also like, hey, we can have fun and be entertained and be silly and still cut people's heads off. So
yeah. That's what I want. I need because we're desensitized. Like by the time you see the fifth person getting something shoved through their mouth and out the back of their head,
it's also frustrating. It's like when the Ninja Turtles started playing music instead of like fighting people with weapons. So it's like it's fucking.
Although I'd like to see the Deadpool coming out of our shells tour. Just putting that out.
Okay. I fucking do it.
So movie opens up, and Deadpool's kicking ass. Goes home to his lovely wife Vanessa. Talking to her, she tells him she's ready to have a baby. He's excited because he wants to be a father. And obviously that sets the course of this whole movie's about family. And finding your family, like Abby said. And then she gets killed. I was shocked.
I knew it was going to happen the moment that I saw like the toaster coming back into play when he pops the... I don't know if they're toaster strudels or waffles, but...
Let's talk about it. What do you think it was?
Not sure.
Pretty sure it was a strudel.
I think it was a strudel because I saw a toaster strudel box, so I'm going to go ahead and go with
Probably a strudel, yeah.
Sounds about right.
It reminded me about when she dies at the beginning. Like, this is I don't know what this says about me. So her name is Vanessa, and she gets killed right at the beginning of the second movie. All I'm thinking about is Austin Powers. I'm thinking about when Vanessa, played by what's-her-face, is the main actress in Elizabeth Hurley in Austin Powers. And then she dies at the beginning of the second movie.
Yeah.
So
I don't even remember that.
So
I'm glad you brought that up.
Cool.
Cool.
So that's what I was
thinking
about. That was a deep cut.
Cool. Deep cut.
Hey, killer reference, huh?
This is killer.
Anyways, she dies. Deadpool gets depressed, tries to kill himself. Abby, you saw it most recently. What happens after that?
He tries to kill himself, then he like breaks into little pieces. He's rescued and taken to where all the X-Men are and the cover.
Yeah. So this really sets up the X-Men universe that we're, like you guys said earlier, the first movie, it's kind of like, John, I think you said it's like Deadpool's kind of like teasing and he's just playing in this universe, but you're kind of like, does this count? Is this canon? I think after this movie, we can officially say this is in the X-Men film
Yeah,
universe.
I mean, I guess we would have to because we literally get the X-Men for a split-second cameo.
Yeah, that's true.
Which apparently was James McAvoy and all those dudes, and how
It
awesome is that?
Yeah. It was very funny. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that at all. And it's such a quick scene that I was like, okay, I saw Quicksilver. I think that was actually Evan Peters. I see Beast. And it's over so quick that I'm like, who else was even in that shot? I had to go home, look it up, realize that it is Professor Xavier, Cyclops, Beast, and Quicksilver. And it's all the actual guys who have been playing them in the X-Men films.
Right.
All I know is they were filming something. They were filming Dark Phoenix, the next X-Men movie, and they were like, "Hey, today we're actually going to film like some bonus stuff for Deadpool." And they said, I read that they actually filmed like a bunch of different takes of whatever, like different versions of what would happen in that scene. And apparently some of them are a lot funnier and a lot like raunchier too. So hopefully those make it to like bonus scenes.
That'd be great.
I could watch Deadpool riding around in Professor X's wheelchair all day long.
Dude, yes. What he's got? What's the head device on?
Oh yeah,
that was all.
They should have.
They fucking breaks it.
Yeah, he does.
They should have put him back in that wheelchair once he had the baby legs.
Yeah,
I feel like that would have been great.
Hold on.
Good call.
I think we can have a whole other episode about the baby legs scene.
It's so good.
So they get the call, right? Him and Colossus.
They get the call. They answer the call.
They're better than answer the call.
Yukio, that's a new character. Mm-hmm. She's the girlfriend of what's her face?
Negasonic
Teenage. What's her name?
Yep.
Warhead.
The dynamic between her and Ryan Reynolds, the whole movie is it's very funny.
Oh, I'm fine. It's one of my favorite things.
Like, it's just a really sweet moment. You get it like once an hour.
Yeah.
I like it.
Because it's like sweet, but like there's more that like is going on, but like it's hi. It's so funny.
It also kind of feels like inappropriate and possibly racist. But hey, we'll just laugh and carry on and not have to take those things so seriously.
It made me laugh and I loved it. I loved all of their like screen time.
They get to the call. They go to the orphanage, and that's where we get introduced to the kid. What's the kid's name? God, I should
Russell.
Russell.
Am I right? Russell Collins Firefist.
John, what was your opinion of Russell?
I thought Russell was hilarious, and it's crazy because he's like a pretty dark character in the comics, but it's pretty. He was great. Like everything about him and how close. Like he wants that F word. He wants family, and he's right there on the edge of either like having something that really matters to him, and you can tell how bad he wants it, or just going completely the opposite way. And the fact that he's like that kind of character and that much is at stake, but he still makes you laugh, and like every scene he's in was pretty awesome.
Jake? Rebuttal.
Yeah. I hated this kid, man. I don't know. He annoyed me. I don't know. This kid annoyed the shit out of me. And I was like, I just didn't like him. I didn't think he was very funny. I really wanted Cable to kill this kid.
Man, the movie would have been way different.
The movie's great. I love the movie. I think he's the one thing I don't like about the movie. I just don't like this kid. I don't know if it's I don't necessarily think it's the plot or the way it's written that I don't like. This kid just annoyed me. I was annoyed. Every time he opened his mouth, I was just like, shut the fuck up. Sorry, John.
Sorry, child actor. God, he's a real Kieran Culkin in this one.
He needs to go back to school, that's all I'm saying.
So, before I move Abby...
There were a couple of wonky moments that I would say that maybe, like, not even a couple. I think I noted that when they were in, like, what's the name of the prison? The Icebox? Or... Yeah. Okay, so when they're in there, I felt like his delivery was a little, like... like maybe, we could have like had a couple more takes on that one. Like, yes,
I agree.
But he's also supposed to be a character that you're not sure how you should feel about him because you want to know. You don't know how he's going to go in the end. If he's going to go to the good side or the bad or whatever. So
they've got all
it's okay if you hate him a little bit.
They've got all these kids at the Mutant Re-Education Center, which obviously it's kind of like borrowing from some real life stuff, which I kind of thought of it as like the what's that stuff they do where they try to like take kids who are gay?
Yeah, the correction camps and stuff like
conversion
that.
Therapy.
Yeah, conversion therapy, which is fucking awful, and it makes me sad that that's a real thing and not something from a fucking, I don't know, George Orwell book or something. Who's George Orwell? I know books.
That's kind of an X-Men. That's kind of an X-Men thing, though, and that's kind of like the whole reason X-Men was created. Originally was to be kind of like a
metaphor for all
mirror,
that. Like,
he says it in the movie. He's like,
they make a joke. Yeah, exactly.
Reference to 60s era civil rights or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. They make a joke about it, but that's literally how the X-Men started. So.
Right on.
Yeah. So they go to rescue him, or he's kind of, I don't know if they're trying to stop him because he's got, fire fists going all over the place, blowing shit up. There's a firefight. This is kind of what leads to Russell and Deadpool ending up going to jail. But let's talk about Cable. Let's just talk about Cable.
Let's do it.
Let's just do it. Okay?
Yeah.
I'll give my opinion first. Josh Brolin.
He's good. He's doing good. He's doing very good.
He's doing good
with his life.
He's doing good with his life.
He's making good choices. Yeah.
Yes.
He's making good choices. He's having a heck of a summer. I'll tell you that much. I thought Cable was awesome. I mean, I don't have much of a basis of comparison to the way he's written in the comics, but I thought what they did with him, it's not like, obviously, Jake, we talked a lot about how in the trailers for this movie, they kind of set it up that he's like the straight villain. But it's very quick in this movie. You start having sympathy and you start realizing that he's time traveling back to try, they make it very clear that something.
You see that teddy bear.
bear. It's very much, it's kind of a trope you see in a lot of these movies. It's almost like a John Wick type thing. Like he's out for vengeance, right?
Right.
Jake, what'd you think of Josh Brolin as Cable?
I thought he was great, man. Just like you said, I was seeing the trailers for the movie did leave me a little like curious as to what they were doing, and maybe like a little annoyed because I'm like, Cable's not really he's not a villain. He is very stern and serious most of the time, like he is in the movie, but he's not a bad guy. He has spent a lot of time basically, on the X-Men, and a lot of time is just the leader of X-Force. So I was like, going into the movie, I was like, all right, there's going to be a point here where they're going to team up. There's going to be something else. And I was very happy for that to actually happen. But I thought Cable was great, man. He's like one of those guys, especially if you watch the animated series, he's a big member. He is the son of Cyclops and Jean Grey. They don't mention that in the film at all, but they don't even mention. Do they even mention his real name in this movie?
Yeah, it's in the. So they actually do mention he's the son of Scott Cyclops and Madeline Pryor, who is
the clone. Yeah,
the clone, which is a whole other thing. But they talk about that, and then he specifically says like, his daughter Hope Summers, who is. Like a big deal too. Like
she is.
That was another, just like how the little moment of like Shatterstar saying I'm from Mojo World when Cable just lays out like, oh yeah, Cyclops is my dad, my mom is Madeline Pryor, my daughter's Hope. I was like, whoa, okay, I guess that is all part of this world too now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's like if she was like, you guys are really good at this science stuff, but I know New York.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
Same thing.
That I think that's an added bonus to them. So, like people obviously like Craig, Abby, you guys enjoyed this movie. You really liked it, and you don't have a big history in the X-Men, and you can still enjoy it. And then it's like, for people who do know a little more, they follow it a little more, and it's almost like you enjoying the movie on a completely different.
There's
level.
Layers.
Yeah,
and I'm sure that they're and I wasn't like a huge reader of the comics. I collected a lot of cards and learned a lot about them that way, and watching the animated series. And I feel like I'm sure I even missed a lot of stuff that other people are like, oh God, that's from this or that's from this. And it's just cool for a movie to be like that, to have so many, layers of enjoyment and Easter eggs for.
Yeah, and it's cool. Well, and it's like it's layered, and you have surface there's surface level entertainment.
Right.
My dad could go to this movie and enjoy it, knowing nothing about comic
it's
books.
Shit you don't need to know.
Everyone.
It's like nothing
right.
is dependent on you actually knowing.
For general audiences, you're just like, oh yeah, Cable has a family, and the fact that he names them is just like, okay, now you can kind of like you feel a little bit more for those characters. They're not just nameless people.
But the fact
because
that
of who, I
was just gonna say the fact that it's important to Ryan Reynolds, who's developing these movies, and to the writers and to the directors, to go deeper and deeper and deeper. It shows a level of care and a level of just like inclusion,
understanding the property and like how to utilize
and
it.
it's
doing your homework.
It's so unbelievably important. Franchise films are not just like they make more money than ever. These movies are making tons of money. But they're not just summer popcorn movies anymore. This is what people of all walks of life are going... Like, the world sucks right now.
It's where I find catharsis. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like, it's a big deal.
And people are going to these movies and everybody can enjoy... Like, you don't need to accommodate the lowest common denominator to make these movies.
It also...
Sorry, ranting.
Sorry, Martha.
No, but it also...
Sorry, Martha.
like... One of the big things that sucks about the past 6 X-Men movies, especially the first 3, is that you had them throwing like Sabretooth is in the very first X-Men movie, right? And like Sabretooth and Wolverine have this huge history together in the comics, which they explore 10 years later. But when you're watching this first movie and they like don't even seem to really know each other, and you don't hear anything about it. When you're getting all these older X-Men movies with all these characters that don't interact like they know each other, when people who watch the cartoons or read the comics are like, these characters, that's her mother. Why doesn't she know why doesn't Rogue and Mystique know who they are? Why doesn't Nightcrawler and why doesn't anybody know each other? But we know, like, this is like a rich world where some of these people are fucking brother and sister, and they're not acting like it. So to watch fucking Deadpool, for them to be like, to connect all the dots, and for Juggernaut to be like, yeah, my brother is Charles Xavier, and just shit like that. It feels so fucking good. Finally,
the best thing is it's stuff like that. Like, it's not even like Juggernaut's looking at the camera and giving a speech about how it matters.
It's a throwaway. It's like, how hard was it for you to write that?
Like, yeah, my brother, I wear this helmet so he can't mess with my mind. And
exactly.
It's like, they could have been talking about going and getting a cheeseburger after they were done, and it wouldn't have changed anything that was happening. But the fact that they said, nah, let's put it in here. It'll be good. Like, that was really cool.
Yep.
I agree. There you go. Let's talk about X-Force.
Let's do it.
Oh, God.
Let's talk about Domino.
God.
Go for it.
Domino's great.
Yes. What's her name? Zazzy?
Zazzy Beats?
Yeah, she's like, she's from Atlanta, which is an amazing show. And she is like fantastic on screen. And yeah, I could watch an entire movie with just her. And I love
She'll probably get one.
Yeah, at this point, she looked good. She was tough and awesome, and I love that luck was like her superpower, and I love the way that they displayed that in that sequence when she's like going through the town and there's like the armored cars and all that chase scene was awesome. I fucking loved it. And when she just lands right in the car.
I have a long history of ranking chase scenes in movies. This one's up there.
Yeah.
That entire sequence.
It's sick.
After the
and they're just like launching the prisoners off, like the that was sorry.
The entire sequence after the skydive, like everybody's talking about the skydiving scene because it is very funny and very well done. But as far as an action movie chase sequence, like this is right up there with Matrix Revolutions.
Oh.
Matrix Revelations.
You said it. We went ahead and said
Reloaded. Matrix Reloaded. There we go. Dude, those twins. What are those twins? Who are the other members of X-Force that we get introduced to, John?
Okay, so we got Shatterstar, who we talked about a little bit already. We got Bedlam, who can control electrical fields, including in your brain, so he can make you feel pretty shitty.
Yes. Cool.
Oh, why am I having a brain
Vanisher?
fart? Domino Vanisher. He was a big part of it.
Brad Pitt.
Yeah, big cameo by Brad Pitt.
Yep.
Who I was reading about it. Brad Pitt was originally in talks to play Cable, and I never knew that.
Oh wow.
Weird.
But
weird.
Yeah, that probably
I'm fine without that.
Tyler Durden. All right, sorry, John. Keep
He
going.
can have everything else.
I'm drawing a blank. What was Pennywise's character's name?
I can't remember his name. But
Bill Skarsgård.
Zeitgeist.
God.
Wasn't it?
Zeitgeist. That's it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a weird name. Yeah.
Yes. While watching this movie, I was
Peter.
like, I'm gonna do that
Peter,
costume.
yeah.
And Peter.
Oh, Peter.
Yeah, and Peter.
God.
But the thing about X-Force that's great is that the whole thing with Domino and her superpower being like luck, and Zeitgeist's power is that he like vomits on you. These are all actual characters.
Yeah.
And there are like hundreds of X-Men mutants and mutants within the X-Men universe. That's what happened in the comics. Their powers got stupid, and like it just got to a point where you're like, oh, that's your power, huh? So I thought that was funny because like Domino's power, that's kind of a dumb thing. Like, oh, I'm lucky. Like it seems dumb, but
as you see it play out,
so well.
yeah, as you see it play out during those
it's great.
scenes, it's very funny.
It's funny how they talk about, Deadpool's ranting. He's like, God, that's a really dumb power. What comic book artist came up with that? Some guy who can't
draw feet.
And it's funny because Rob Liefeld notoriously would draw characters with their feet off panel because he just didn't want to draw feet, and he created most of these characters.
You know what, John? That's
Deadpool,
great.
right?
Yeah.
And again, that's just a layer that the average moviegoer is not going to see or know about. Yet this is the number one. I mean, this movie beat Avengers this week.
Yeah.
Wow.
Also, I like that, guys. Remember in 2018 where it was like, well, Deadpool took out Avengers, the two biggest movies in the world, and Ant-Man and the Wasp is coming up soon. It's like, what world are we living in?
Yeah.
This is so crazy.
Yeah.
It's
crazy.
anyways, cool. So yeah, Domino's great. I was reading. Apparently, her character was a little bit different than how she's portrayed in the comics. Is that correct?
She's usually. I think she's African American. Sometimes I think there's always like multiple versions of characters in comics.
Right.
I think she's usually a white woman.
Yeah.
But she has like a black circle around her eye.
Okay.
In the
Instead of the
comics,
way
I
they
think
did
it's
in the movie.
In the comics, I think it's actually like makeup, like part of her.
It's
costume.
makeup or something.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I don't know if y'all saw. Hal posted. Our friend Hal Clay posted that what's the character from not
Spaceballs.
Spaceballs. Yeah, the
John Candy.
John Candy's character.
It's very similar.
And I couldn't get that out of my head. And also, I saw that before I saw the movie, and I was like, no spoilers.
That's very funny.
No spoilers.
So I got really mad.
So the scene where they're interviewing candidates for X-Force is a very funny scene.
Yes.
It's very well done. One of the things that came out this week is that one of the original ideas was that they wanted Chris Evans as Johnny Storm to be interviewed to be on X-Force.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And
Shit.
they talked about it. They were going to do it. It didn't come to. It was in one of the original scripts. That would have been amazing.
That would have been crazy.
That's just my opinion, but that would have been very funny.
Yeah.
Because those Fantastic Four movies are not good.
No.
They're not. No. I wonder if that just led into like, because I know as soon as this whole deal happens or whatever, like Fantastic Four will. I feel like eventually Fantastic Four is going to be a part of the MCU.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's probably, they were like, all right, we really want to do this, but should we fuck with the Fantastic Four again before we actually bring in the Fantastic Four?
And it brings up
the
point of recasting. I read today that Donald Glover is being considered as a villain for the second Black Panther movie. And it's weird because he was already a character in Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah.
That's right.
So,
Correct.
I guess
so that's kind of a weird continuity thing if you've got,
So what? Thanos was literally Thanos and Cable are the same person.
And they acknowledge that at one point he
cares?
calls him Thanos.
I waited. I was
put
waiting.
Donald Glover in it. That's fine.
I was waiting the whole movie for him to call him Thanos, and he finally did.
He did.
It was so cool. I was really.
I kept waiting. Every time he kept doing the X-Force symbol, I was like, he's gonna say Wakanda forever, and he never does.
So Abby,
yeah, well, I didn't know if because Domino goes, isn't that a little derivative? Is that based on being derivative of X-Men, or is it being derivative of the Wakanda salute?
I think it was supposed to be like a
Both,
double meaning.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah, I think
The more you
dude,
know.
no, Black Panther's untouchable. You can't say anything bad about Black
You
Panther.
can't.
It's too close.
Can't. Sorry,
it's too close.
Deadpool.
It's the highest gross.
I walked out.
Jake gave me some hot takes on Black Panther this week too.
Oh.
Why are you putting it all on me
Ouch.
as if I was the only one?
Come on.
Hey,
man.
Hey, all I
This
said
is
was
what
that
happened.
Thor 3 was better.
I agree with that. I agree. I think.
Jake's
listen.
Get the fan on.
Sorry. Hey,
Sorry, Jake. I know it hurts. You
Listen.
can't have a fan.
I shared the same sentiment with Jake. I think
And colonizers.
when we're talking about the MCU movies, like sometimes you're kind of like picking it. What's the phrase? Picking at straws, taking straws.
Yeah.
You're nitpicking.
Splitting
sometimes.
hairs.
Splitting hairs. That's what I'm talking about.
I just sometimes
I was like,
pick
yeah,
straws.
that's what you do. And I'm like,
I
what
chew
you
on a
talking
straw.
But Black Panther's
He
is
tried. He gave it a governor's nudge.
governor's.
Governor's. I forgot about the governor's.
Classic.
nudge,
How do you
John.
remember that shit?
Thank you for coming on the show, John.
Classic
That was
John.
your purpose.
So, well, real quick before we keep going, there's been Black Panther, Avengers, and Deadpool 2 are the 3 superhero movies we've gotten this year. Am I forgetting any? Or are those the 3 so far?
I feel like that's it. Yeah.
Like, no, like, this doesn't say anything about the quality of Black Panther, but, like, if I was ranking these 3 movies, I would probably have, I think I liked Avengers. I liked the Wakanda and the Black Panther scenes in Avengers a lot more than some of the stuff I saw in actually Black Panther.
Yeah.
It's just just put it out there.
I'm not sure how I feel. I feel like I need to put a little more thought into it.
No, right now I want opinions.
I think
John, your cable.
I think that it's hard to, I don't know. At this point, especially because Black Panther came out so close to Avengers, it almost feels like it's just like an immediate follow-up. And all the Wakanda and Black Panther scenes that were in Avengers just feel like, it feels like you walked out of Black Panther and you were like, okay, now we got to go fight Thanos. It just feels like it all goes together and it's just like a natural, like, okay, it's just going to keep getting bigger and better. So yeah, it's hard to, I feel the same way about, not to like start reviewing other movies, but I feel the same way about Avengers Infinity War that I felt about the last Harry Potter movie, Deathly Hallows Part 2, where it's like, it's hard to review it as just a movie on its own, because so much of why that movie works is because you're taking into account the 10 years of movies that came before it. So a lot of it isn't even going to like matter as much or make as much sense if you're not at least remembering the broad strokes of all those things.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think that's a very fair point.
Moment of silence for Voldemort.
Sorry.
Sorry.
What religion are you a part of?
I don't know. I started to do. I was like, well, I don't know what I'm doing. Hey,
fucking the Yellow King.
You guys are right. Yeah. Whatever.
Whatever.
I was about to just start shitting on Black Panther again, but then I remembered this is the Deadpool episode.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
Yeah,
cool. So let's talk about the Juggernaut. We talked a little bit.
Before we do that, since we were just talking about the X-Force, I just want to say, like, I think it was really cool that he puts together the X-Force, and it immediately doesn't work. They all die.
Yes.
And at first, I was like, "Oh,
the wind advisory."
They just killed off the. I was like, when they kill them all off at first, I'm like, "Oh, I was kind of looking forward to like a team," but they just kind of, earlier, Abby, you were talking about the whole like family thing. The X-Force all comes to their end. But then he kind of forms a new X-Force, with Colossus and Cable, and it becomes like a legitimate X-Force,
because they go through something together.
And I thought that was a really cool thing.
Yeah, and it's also, I think it was really great writing and very funny, because that moment before they drop out of that plane, you're thinking, at least I was thinking, was, oh my god, there's a whole new cast of characters that have assembled here. This is like halfway through the movie. Okay, maybe a little bit of a rush for a lot of characters that I'm not sure of all their names to be in one plane together for me to care about them. But as they all died, I was like, wait a minute, this is fantastic. What a great way to kill off a bunch of people. And then the stinger scenes fixed it. So yeah, it's great.
I was ready to be like, wow, this is like, I was giving them props because I was like, they're legitimately going to go and save the day with a whole bunch of like random obscure nobodies. I was like, props to them. Like, if this is what the X-Force movie ends up being, and it's just like the Z-listers of the X-Men universe, this is going to be fun. And then none of them even make it like 5 minutes after the plane jumped. I was like, that works too.
Yes. I was laughing so hard when Bill Skarsgård dies. I was like, God, that shit is so funny.
Yeah, I was just thinking about this is kind of off topic what you guys talking about, but in the scene when they're in the prison and they've got the collars on, and you first realize that the second that Deadpool's powers are gone, his cancer starts killing him.
Yeah.
That is so scary.
It's terrifying, isn't it?
Yeah. And he's like, my stage 4 cancer is like, I'm going to be dead very soon.
Yeah, he's like, make friends with the biggest guy here.
I was just thinking about the end where the collar kind of comes back into play. But anyways, the X-Force, I think they're going to get their own movie. Cable, I know that Josh Brolin signed like a 4-picture deal, so all that stuff's going to keep going. But so we talked about it earlier. They were saying there's like this beast or this monster that's like in the lower cell. My first thought, with my limited knowledge of giant, this is what I thought. It's going to be a big guy. It's going to be a bad guy, and it's going to be somebody that even the moderately knowledgeable comic fans or X-Men fans are going to know. So my immediate thought was, I wonder if that's going to be the Juggernaut. But you know when you watch movies and you think something's going to happen, it never happens the way you think it's going to happen. So I was like, it's going to be the Cloverfield monster. This is a Cloverfield. Whoa! What if Deadpool's a Cloverfield movie? Anything could happen on the DS app. It's the fucking Cloverfield monster. Yeah. So Jake, what was your reaction when he popped out? It was like, fuck, he looks like that. It's just like from the comics.
Well, you know, at first, like, when he makes a joke about it at first, he's like, they talk about the monster and he's like, that's gonna, foreshadowing. He says something about it. And I did the same thing. I was like, well, who can that be? And I my only two options that I thought of were Juggernaut and the Blob. But my second thought was like, it's probably just going to be a made-up character. I was like, are they really going to have the Juggernaut in this movie? And then it's definitely the Juggernaut, and it's almost like like you said, when you're thinking something's going to happen during a movie and it never happens, when it does, it's almost like it just felt weird. I was like, oh, it is the Juggernaut. And hey, he looks like the fucking Juggernaut. He is acting, it's not dumb Vinnie Jones in a fucking weird,
muscle
whatever he was wearing.
I'm the Juggernaut, bitch.
No, I need to see that
the
now.
Juggernaut was very fun. The Juggernaut was, and hey, like, as much as I'm here talking about how much of an X-Men movie this is, there was a major battle between Colossus and the Juggernaut.
Yeah.
Which, what the fuck? You can't get more straight up X-Men than that. Yeah,
really?
You saw his fucking butt.
His big hairy butt.
It's a good butt.
I loved it.
John?
I loved it, yeah.
What's up?
Your thoughts?
John has gone bye-bye.
No, I'm a terrible comic book fan because when they were in the prison, they're talking about like, the monster and the lower cell. I did not even think about Juggernaut. Like, Juggernaut was nowhere on my mind at any point in this movie until the truck crashes and you see his helmet start to come out, and that's when I was like, no. And it just blew me away. Like, when you finally see him, I was like, I was not ready for that, and I got really excited. My wife had to calm me down.
Nice.
You leave the theater. You walk up to anybody who will listen to you. You're just going, no. You go to the ticket lady. No.
Like, no, and I just ran out.
No. John hasn't even seen the end of Deadpool.
I've just been kind of playing along.
Yeah, moving along here. So it kind of hold on, something's crazy happened. It kind of moves towards this final battle, right? So once the chase scene happens and it's kind of revealed why Cable's doing what he's doing, and they kind of they're getting their wits about him, because like when the chase kind of happened, like the airplane scene and then the chase scene, I was thinking, oh, this is the third act, this movie's almost over, and then you realize like, oh, there's a whole another part to come, which I think is always the sign of a good movie, when you're like, oh my god, this is the climax, and then you're like, we're still going. Also the good sign. Never mind, I'm not gonna say what I was just gonna say. Okay.
It's always a good sign.
It's always a good sign. God damn it. So they all reconvene.
We're still going, guys.
At the blind lady's apartment. For some gut-busting humor. At this point, Deadpool's had his entire body cut in half, and he's regrowing his legs and his other areas.
All his legs.
And Abby, you were in a packed theater today. What was the reaction?
That's like, that scene probably gets the biggest laugh, which it is the funniest. I particularly like the noise that his little tiny baby legs make when he keeps rubbing them together, like, because obviously they're hurting and growing, and it's so funny. Also, when what is I don't know his friend who lives there. I can't. She's got the blind lady.
Oracle.
Nah. When she puts her hand out and he was like, oh, that was nice for me. I thought that was really funny. So, yeah, that's a really
Blind
good scene. Okay, there
Blind Owl, yeah. That scene, it's great because, like, first of all, it is probably one of the funniest scenes in the movie, and you have people that are, laughing at what's happening, but also it's the scene where Cable shows up and is like, hey, we need to work together. So it's like, it's the scene that people need to be listening to, but it's also the scene that people are laughing the most at. So I'm like, hey, shh, I need to hear what Cable's saying.
Jake, you stand up in the theater, you turn around, you're like,
inappropriate.
Baby legs aren't funny.
Guys, stop. This is serious.
I'm dealing with a real issue here.
Cable's got a fanny pack.
Oh, shit, this is funny.
So... basically, they get word that that Cable kind of is knowledgeable of the path that Fire Fist. What's his name? Fire Fist? Russell. He knows the path he's going to go down. He's going to go back to the orphanage. He's going to burn the place down. He's going to kill the headmaster, and that's going to lead him down a dark path of almost like the Batman thing. Like once you get that taste, think about what Val Kilmer tells Chris O'Donnell in Batman Forever. He's like, so what? You kill Two-Face, then what?
Yes.
Actually, never think about that. Great point, Craig. What will you do? The circus must be halfway to Metropolis by now. Hey, when they make a Superman reference in Batman Forever, you cherish it.
Oh, if someone were to fix one of these. No, I was about to make the point. This is why
Superman works alone.
Oh my god. No, but the taste for blood is a theme throughout this movie. Yeah. And like getting your taste for the kill and that kind of a thing. And what if you can change your path, and I like that.
So basically at this point they're gonna get the band together and they're gonna go take this kid on, and it's that Cable wants to kill him, and Deadpool thinks he can
30 seconds.
And Deadpool thinks he can save him, and that's kind of where this is leading to. The end of this movie is batshit crazy. That's where we get the Juggernaut fight with Colossus. Thank you. By the way, Colossus, best X-Men character on screen I've ever seen. Like, just aesthetically. Like, he looks amazing. Yeah. And that's just where it all starts to go down. And it's a very well-done climax for this movie. Obviously, if you've seen it, you know how it goes down. You know that Deadpool dies. He gets killed. How does that play out? He puts on the collar, and he jumps in front of the bullet to save the kid, which is going to like show the kid. Basically, he feels like he has to sacrifice himself to save this kid.
It becomes a moving target, sacrificially, exactly.
Yeah. I loved it. Fuck, this movie's so good.
Yeah, I absolutely did too. That was the moment where another time where I was crying and then laughing because he comes back and comes to and like reinvigorates, and
God, it's just so hard to go.
I know, exactly. And just watching his facial expressions change, I'm like, God damn it. And then when he does cross over into, like, the ether and, like, into the other world where he sees Vanessa and then they embrace and they do the fucking take on me arm through, like, the quivering
real quick.
wall.
The stripped down acoustic version of Take On Me.
I listened to that today in the car on the way down and I had to turn it off. I was like, no, not yet. Not yet. It's too early. I can't cry yet. But yes.
I feel like the whole end of Deadpool, like the way, you know, he sacrifices himself and not only does he like change the kid's mind, he changes like Cable's mind a little bit, and you know, Cable goes back, and it's like if that were any other movie, it would feel so like cliche and cheap, and it would just be like, oh, of course he sacrificed himself. Blah. But like it works in this movie, you know, and it's just because you know, the writing is good. Like it's good writing. It's like you can get away with stuff like that when the rest of your movie is fucking good.
Yeah, like one of the things I love about the first movie, but also especially this movie, is like I remember going into the first movie and outside of a couple of, you know, like animated things and comics I'd read about Deadpool, my entire frame of reference was just people dressed like Deadpool at a convention. So I went in thinking, if they are an accurate representation of this character, I'm going to hate this, but I feel like I need to see it. Yeah. But then you watch it and you realize like there's so much heart to, like, even though he's just an irreverent jackass, like, he has a lot of heart. And then in this one, to see that, like, they cranked it up even more, and you see what family means to him and how, you know, what he's willing to do to save this kid, and how it, you know, like you said, it changes Cable's mind, it changes the kid's mind, and all of this stuff. It's just like, I kept thinking, like, this movie is like has so much more weight than it has any business being, because they could string together a plot and just have it be for the sake of Deadpool making jokes. But this is almost the kind of movie, like, if it didn't have any jokes in it, it'd probably be lame and cliche, but it would still be like a well-made movie. Right. And the fact that you did, like, oh man, my salt was about to come out for Answer the Call again, but like, they let this movie be funny without stopping the movie and stopping the story to say, like, guys, this is a punchline. Yes. Like, it just, the humor and the story and the heart, it just like blended together to the point where, like, yeah, maybe any one of those things could have stood on their own, but because they were all in the same movie together, working together, like, it made it really special.
Dynamic.
And each element pushed all the other elements forward even more.
Yeah, and before I forget, Karen Sony, his role was kind of increased in this movie. I think his name's Dopinder. Yeah. He's so funny. That guy is so funny.
He got redemption for Answer the Call in this movie.
You know what? He's funny in Answer the Call. He's one of the funniest
parts of that movie.
And I know he was on Paul Feig's, what's that show called? The Other Space?
I think so.
Outer Space? Whatever that show is.
No clue. No clue.
Star Trek meets The Office. So yeah, congrats to him. Good job. And TJ Miller's in it, and he's kind of not great of a person, but he's still fun.
Do you think they cut his part down after some?
I think they might have cut his part down.
Him too.
Probably. Yeah.
So let's talk about it. So
he won't be in 3.
Yeah, he won't be in the next one.
He ain't gonna be in Rush Hour 3.
When they once you go to the post credits, okay. So at the end of this movie, basically Cable uses his last charge. Just like the Last Jedi, they only had one more jump to go. He uses his last charge to go back and place the token from the first date of Vanessa and Deadpool.
It's lead, yeah.
And it protects him, and it's great. It's great. And then we think Cable's here now. You know, he's just here.
He's gonna stick around.
He's gonna stick around, which he will. But then in the post credits, you see the girls, Negasonic and her lady friend. They're fixing it. They're repairing it, and you think, oh, this is going to be so Cable can go back and be with his family, but it's not. It's so that we can have one of the greatest post credits sequences of all time. Because it's amazing, right?
Yeah.
Like he goes into the Wolverine Origins movie and kills the original Deadpool.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Which is great. Yeah.
Yep.
Love it.
And then the
it's
very
also,
last one too.
It's also like their way of kind of having a Wolverine cameo, because it's like, I guess I don't know what their deal is. It's like you feel like they really want to bring Wolverine into it, and you know Hugh Jackman would, but I don't know if like them just, you know, killing off Logan already would feel too cheap to them.
Right.
So this was like their way of like, this is a Wolverine cameo.
Right.
I mean, like,
stock footage.
I love the fact that he just like he jumps back to, you know, X-Men Origins Wolverine. He jumps and he kills Ryan Reynolds.
He kills Ryan
Reynolds. He can
Yeah.
actually play Green Lantern.
Yes, when he's like,
he
welcome
saves
to the big
Peter.
leagues.
And it's just like he's jumping around so much that like I know, like, for me, one of the questions that jumped into my mind when I was first watching the movie, like, you know, as he gets to the mansion for the first time, because I was in nerd mode, I was like, hold on, they just showed the version of the X-Men that exists in the 90s in terms of like when the movies take place, but Deadpool's in the here and now. So when is this? Like, how does this all fit together? And then you get to the end, and he's just like time jumping everywhere. And I'm like, my head canon now is just that Deadpool is the reason that the X-Men continuity has never been.
It's weird.
Oh, I like your reasoning. Yeah, I see that.
Like the way that Wolverine's cameo in X-Men First Class when Xavier and Magneto go in the bar and they introduce themselves, and Wolverine's just like, go fuck yourselves. Right. I want there to be, when Deadpool is like reforming X-Force and he's like, we need to put the band back together. I want to see him just like that, where he's like, I know exactly what I want, and Wolverine's just like, go fuck yourself. Like,
yeah.
You mentioned. Go ahead, Craig.
No, I was just gonna say I have a feeling we're gonna see Hugh Jackman in one of these movies. Like it's inevitable at this point.
Yeah, I think so.
Right,
you know, you mentioning the Green Lantern thing reminded me. Did you guys get a trailer for the Teen Titans movie?
The animated one? No.
I didn't.
I saw a poster for it.
So I had a trailer for that in front of Deadpool, and I've never watched Teen Titans. I have basically hated every DC movie that I've seen. I saw the trailer for this, and I was like, this fucking looks amazing.
I've seen a little bit of that show. It's kind of funny.
The Teen Titans animated movie looks hilarious, and there's a Green Lantern, and they ask him like, hey, didn't you get a movie already? And he's like, we don't talk about that. and also Superman is voiced by Nicolas Cage, which is amazing.
Oh wow, okay.
And it just like, I was like, whoa, this looks funny as shit. When we're done, go watch the trailer for the Teen Titans movie.
I mean, here's the thing: the only way DC works is if it's just making fun of itself.
Exactly.
Did you see that Warner Brothers tweeted at Ryan Reynolds, and it had like screenshots of like him and Green Lantern with the ring, and they're like, "Hey, we want our ring back."
And then they're like, "No, seriously, we need that back. We need to recoup some of our Suicide Squad money." Well, cool. So we'll wrap up the Deadpool discussion.
We put a Green Lantern in Justice League, but he died, so we're gonna need your ring.
Justice League is so bad. Like, okay, remember after we saw Justice League?
We doing this?
No,
let's do it.
Because it's funny. Because after
I haven't talked to you in forever, so now that we're here, we need to talk about all the movies.
Let's do it.
Listen, we don't have to go deep, but it's like after you see Avengers or Deadpool or like just a fucking squirrel walking down the street, you realize that Justice League sucks. It's not even almost good. Like, I know there's that one scene where they fight that's kind of cool, but that shit sucks.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Craig,
that
it's
scene.
funny that you mentioned a squirrel because they're making a new Warriors TV show from Marvel, and the main character is Squirrel Girl. So you'll be able to look at a squirrel and also know that DC still sucks.
This is better. Well, cool. So, thank you guys for the Deadpool talk. The movie's great. If you haven't seen it, I don't know why you would have just watched this or listened to it, but please go see it because we could talk about it for hours, and we're not going to do it a whole lot of justice because it's very funny, very well written. Yeah. It's for comic book fans. It's for general movie-going audience. It's awesome. Yep. Good job, Fox and Marvel. We salute you. Keep it up.
Well played.
Ryan Reynolds.
We've been going for a while.
Josh Brolin, everybody.
Mm-hmm. But we talked about doing it. Should we just go ahead and knock out a little bit of a have some fuck budget?
Let's fuck budget. I'm so ready.
I'm all about it.
You're all about it? All right, John's going to join us. We've never had a guest for the fuck budget. John, my advice to you is take it very seriously.
You should see the notes that I have on this. I took time in allocating.
Wow.
All right, cool.
Wow.
Real quick before we go any
I
further,
was stress allocated right before we recorded. I was like, no, take away, give one, take one.
There you go.
Not sure.
Before we get going, I do want to say thank you to all of our new listeners. Thanks for everybody who's been checking out the new video feed. We have it up on YouTube and Facebook. We really appreciate everybody's participation, your feedback, all the joyous is my word of the day because I said it earlier when I was talking about Carnivorous Creations. Thank you.
What are you doing that great video?
Facebook group therapy. Yes, I have some group therapies where you can find the official discussion for all of our episodes, and that's where we encourage our listeners to go stress out about toys and movies and things that are really getting under your skin or things that you love. Today they were posting about the new Jurassic Park clothing line that's available at Hot Topic, which I think